Hello, security pros, and thank you for joining us for today's ESA webinar, Easily Increase RMR Through Existing Customers' Elevator Phones. In this webinar, you'll learn how becoming a Kings 3 dealer can expand your RMR without even stepping foot inside an elevator cab. Our non-proprietary cellular solution allows integrators to capture dial tone revenue that has historically belonged to the telecom giants with no hassles from elevator maintenance companies. I'm Daniela Chavez, ESA's Marketing and Communication Specialist, and I'm excited to lead this webinar today. But before we dive in, I'd like to provide some tips for those of you joining us on your first ESA webinar. You will be muted for the duration of the session, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to hear from you. If a question or comment comes to mind at any point during today's session, click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and I'll ensure that we save some time for your questions with our experts today. We also will be recording this webinar so you can re-watch the on-demand session and share it with your colleagues. If your company is a member of ESA, we thank you and we hope you're utilizing your benefits to save, expand your team, and get connected to the ESA community. If you're not yet a member of the Electronic Security Association, check us out. ESA is the largest and longest standing association serving the pro-installed electronic security and life safety industry. Our members are integrators, dealers, monitoring centers, and even manufacturers and service providers in the space. You'd be surprised at the power an ESA membership holds for your company. Get a feel for all of the ESA benefits, including savings on business insurance, training, customized in-house onboarding and professional development programs, peer networking groups, government advocacy programs, certifications that satisfy state licensing, and in some cases are also alternatives to NICET at esaweb.org. One of our membership specialists would be happy to walk you through these benefits and the application process. We at ESA realize your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending of that time with us today. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Tom Worthington. Tom is formerly the founder and owner of ESRM Communications. Tom is also currently the Director of Dealers Program at Kings 3 Emergency Communications, tasked with growing the program and helping Kings 3 dealers succeed in the marketplace. Being an elevator code expert has also made Tom a respected and trusted member of the elevator community. So, Tom, please take it away.
All right, thank you so much, and very excited to be here to talk elevator phones with everybody. Everyone that's joining via the webinar, thanks for joining. Very excited to talk about what's going on today in the elevator world. We're going to cover a variety of topics. We're going to kind of go through 5 main points. We're going to cover the current state of the elevator industry, go over its growth, go over how new construction is doing and the telecom trends affecting integrators like yourselves. We're also going to go over how the elevator code requirements are impacting the elevator communications markets. So there's a lot of new changes to elevator codes. We're going to go over some of those that may have a direct impact depending on what state you guys live in. And we're also going to cover what solutions are viable to satisfy the market demand. There's a lot of different technologies out there, and we're going to go over the different solutions on the market to, code compliantly take a customer away from POTS lines. We're also going to cover how Kings 3 can help integrators like yourselves take advantage of industry trends to generate RMR growth. There's a lot of recurring monthly revenue out there, and we're going to kind of go over just how to take advantage of that. We're also going to talk about other opportunities to grow RMR with your existing customers. So just to go over some of the, some stats on the elevators within the United States. The broad theme is the elevator industry growth is back. There's a ton of new construction. I'm sure you guys are well aware of it with the industries that you guys are already in. But at the end of 2022, there was roughly 1.1 million installed elevators in the United States. And in 2022, an estimated 38,000 new elevators were installed. And so we're pretty much back to pre-pandemic levels, with estimates even going to be increasing, beyond pre-pandemic levels. But to go back to the 1.1 million elevators within the United States, that number continues to grow nonstop. And there's a lot of opportunity out there of elevators that are still connected to POTS lines. So new yearly installations are expected to rise during 2023, reaching 47,000 units annually by 2029. So there's a lot of new elevators coming on the market every day within the United States. So the total installed base estimated is to, we're going to reach about 1.5 million elevators by the end of 2029, which is a pretty big marketplace compared to now, which is 1.1 million. Just a couple other stats on the elevator industry to give you an idea of just how many people are using elevators every day and just how necessary they become in American culture. The average elevator carries 20,000 people per year. That's 80 people a day times 250 business days. Multifamily, residential, those go 365 days a year nonstop. Combined, elevators make an estimated 20.8 billion passenger trips per year. Elevators are considered to be very safe. They're highly regulated, and part of making an elevator safe is having a good emergency communication system. At Kings 3, we have our own call center, so we roughly estimate that there's about 350,000 elevator entrapments per year. Every day at our call center, we deal with multiple entrapments, and we are dispatching fire rescue around the clock at our call center. But these are real things that happen. People get stuck in elevators. These can cause panic. They can cause anxiety attacks. There can be medical emergencies, and ultimately, people are depending on that emergency phone to work when they need it. So there's a pretty big dynamic that's I'll underscore that, and that is the vast majority of elevator companies do not provide telecom or cellular services. So as we're talking about POTS replacement and the need for building owners to get away from phone lines for the elevator phone, the strange dynamic in the elevator industry is that a lot of elevator companies just do not want to be providing a communications path. It's not part of their business model. It's never been. Some elevator companies do, but this has kind of created a vacuum of supply. There's a lot of demand out there, but just not a lot of supply because the first place people go to, in many instances, the elevator companies just don't provide this service. And we estimate here at Kings 3 that between 80 and 90% of elevator phones across the United States are still on POTS lines. So getting back to that 1.1 million number of elevator phones in the United States, 80 to 90% are going to need to get off of that traditional phone line at some point. So we see a huge opportunity here for recurring monthly revenue and for capturing that conversion. For those of you that aren't too familiar with the elevator code requirements, we're just going to give you a brief understanding of what's required in most elevators in the United States. The ASME A17 code, which regulates the elevator phone requirements. In most cases, you're going to need a hands-free device, just similar to the phone that's pictured there to my right. And when that button's pressed on the phone, that call must go to a 24/7 live authorized personnel. In most cases, this is going to a call center, maybe an elevator company, maybe a central station like Rapid Response, maybe a call center like Kings 3. In some cases, they're being answered in-house by a security desk. The elevator code requirements state that the call cannot go to an automated answering machine and that the call must be answered within 45 seconds. And when the operator does pick up the emergency phone, the operator must be able to identify the location of the elevator without voice communication. And there must be a 4-hour minimum backup battery on the emergency phone inside the elevator. There's new code requirements in the 2010 code, which requires local alarm supervision. And this is a supervision panel that will beep and alert passengers that the phone's not working. And then there's a brand new 2019 code change that is very radical that introduces video and text messaging. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but just keep in mind, this is a very highly regulated industry, and there is clear code requirements that must be met. And all 50 states have adopted this ASME A17.1 code. So some states are on the 2010 code, some are on earlier code versions, some are on the new 2019 code. We have actually, if you go to the Kings 3 website, you can actually see every single state and every single code that they're on. Especially for integrators that might cover multiple states, this is a pretty good resource that we have. I talked to you about the new 2019 code requirements for elevators. Again, this is a pretty radical code change. This has the new 2019 code has now introduced video and text messaging into the code requirements. Now, this is in addition to the audio requirements that I just outlined. Now, the reasoning for the video, at least, is to eliminate false calls. Just like in the fire and security industry, you know, false calls and dispatching fire rescue to elevators with no one stuck in it, it's a pretty big concern. So the idea behind the video was to eliminate false calls, and that video camera is really providing an overview of the elevator floor to see if anyone's actually in the elevator. And it also is there to provide a complete ADA compliance for the elevator communication system, and offers another level of security in situations where audio isn't sufficient or compromised. But with the new text messaging requirements for people that cannot communicate properly with voice, they're able to now have a two-way text message with the operator, and the operator can ask a question. The operator can ask yes and no questions, and the passenger can answer them. If you look at the illustration on the right, you'll kind of see what that looks like. If you were to get stuck in the elevator and talk to an operator, there would be a screen in the elevator now that where yes and no questions could be asked. So this is a pretty big change. Obviously, it's no longer just voice. Keep in mind, this code is adopted at the state level. So currently there's only 20 states that have adopted this. There's 30 states that have not adopted this yet. And the other thing to keep in mind, this is only enforced on new construction or major modernizations of elevators. So this is not a code that's retroactive. And the vast majority of elevators, even in the states that have adopted this, do not need to meet this code yet. The important thing to note is that this is a code that's going to be widespread in the upcoming years. And in states now and on new construction, you're going to run into stuff like this, where the elevators are now requiring this code. So typically, we've been involved in installation and monitoring on a lot of these jobs across the United States. And so what we found so far is that the video and the text hardware is manufactured by the elevator fixture companies and installed by the elevator contractors. So something to keep in mind, there's no real opportunity to get to install security cameras and stuff like that to meet this code. It's all going to be incorporated into one fixture with the phone included. And all three components, the audio portion of the phone, the video, and the text, those all have to be monitored by the same emergency personnel. And there will now be a computer software that the operator will now have to need to use in order to monitor these phones properly. So there's a huge stress now on the operator. The person answering the call has to be able to not only answer the call and know where that call is coming from, they'll have to be at a computer, they'll have to be able to pull up the video, they'll have to have a software from the phone manufacturer, and they'll have to be able to do a two-way text message if needed. Now, the major trend that we're seeing in the elevator industry right now is probably similar to what you guys are going through with the fire and security industry. There's a huge shift away from traditional phone lines. So we're trending away from POTS. We're a little bit late to the party in the elevator industry. We're much further behind than the fire and security industries. As I outlined before, we're estimating 80 to 90% of elevators still have traditional analog phone lines. So a lot of building owners are kind of, you know, they're getting presented with two options as an alternative to traditional phone lines. Some companies are actually offering VoIP or other internet-based solutions for emergency communications like elevators. And then there's also cellular options out there. And we're going to go over the two, but what we're seeing on our end and what we're seeing industry-wide is just that cellular is the technology that's winning. And we're going to outline some of those key factors why. But just to go over voice over IP, you know, there is a lot of companies, and sometimes the building owners accidentally getting into a voice over IP line without really understanding the ramifications behind it. But you know, the question really is, does voice over IP work in your elevator? So elevator phones are often an afterthought when making a telephone change, and a lot of times they're easily missed. And even with the best project management and even the most robust projects. So we've discovered elevator emergency phones that were left completely disconnected after voice over IP migration, or we found that maybe they got migrated to voice over IP but didn't have the proper backup battery or other issues. Some of the disadvantages with voice over IP, you have inconsistent dual tone multi-frequency, basically DTMF, which a lot of elevator phones still rely on DTMF for programming and for location identification. So this is a pretty common problem that we run into. Sometimes the call centers just can't quite understand where that identification is, or sometimes you lose the ability to remotely program that emergency phone. You also sometimes have router configuration issues. A lot of times we find insufficient backup battery. You know, you have to have 4 hours backup battery, and that would go to the entire communications path that has to do with that elevator phone. There's also requirements to call back into elevators. Sometimes the voice over IP phone lines the elevator phones do not automatically answer. And then on elevators that require the supervision panels, the 2010, a lot of voice over IP telephone lines will give out a false dial tone and will ultimately not be code compliant with the 2010 phone line verification panels. So one of the advantages of voice over IP obviously is cost, but you definitely want to make sure that you don't run into some of these issues that could be code problems that would end up coming back to you if you're putting in a voice over IP line. So that brings us to cellular. As I said before, you know, what we're seeing is cellular's winning. And there's a lot of reasons why, but you know, what is the ideal solution for elevator phones? So one of the reasons that cellular is very, you know, popular is not only does it eliminate the need to rely on analog phone lines, but we actually see that it's a faster connection in most cases to dispatch centers, especially within our own Kings 3 call center. But basically, you know, cellular allows you to really get into POTS replacement without a big investment. And cellular technology meets at least all the cellular technology from Kings 3 meets all the A17 code requirements for elevator communications. And some of the key compliance factors include you won't have any issues with location identification. You'll be able to interface with any central station, and you'll be able to use caller ID formats in most cases. You'll also be able to meet all the supervision requirements for the phone line verification. If there's a failure, it will trip all the third-party alarm systems and will will let the passengers know that the emergency phone is working. You're also able to have simultaneous two-way communication without any line sharing. And beyond that, what makes it very attractive is, you got the backup battery right there. So it's scalable, and you have the ability, at least with our Kings 3 Elevator Connect 1000, you have the ability to call back into the elevator and talk directly with the passenger. Beyond that, like I said, especially with our devices, you have a couple different cellular networks that you can connect to. So in most cases, you're leveraging the infrastructure of the cell network already. And there's really not a location that you're going to run into where you can't install cellular. We have remote antennas to overcome bad reception and stuff like that. So, and many times this is really why cellular is kind of winning. Cellular communicator that Kings 3 uses offers is designed to work with any elevator phone. So that's pretty important. We've been doing cellular at Kings 3 since 2012. And, we have a lot of different cellular devices that we make. We have very high-tech systems that are proprietary. We have a cellular communicator that's actually on FirstNet. That's really cool. But really on our dealer side, we have a different cellular communicator that is non-proprietary, and this is designed to work with any elevator phone in the industry. And this allows you as an integrator not to have to change out the elevator phone. So with our system, you utilize the existing travel cable to bring our cellular dial tone to the cab. In most cases, you're installing our equipment in the building's telephone room or maybe the elevator machine room. In most cases, it's not necessary to enter the elevator cab to make this transition. So if you can look at the picture there, there's a typical installation where you would be putting in like a metal box similar to that on the wall, connecting to the elevator phone. And you would now have cellular dial tone to that elevator phone. So here's our cellular communicator. It's the Elevator Connect 1000 4G LTE. So our cellular device is a 4G VoLTE, which is voice over LTE technology. And it's really designed for elevators. And that's pretty important. There's a lot of cell devices on the market that are designed for home and residential and business use. But, all of our equipment at Kings 3 is really designed for commercial use on elevators. So with our device, you're going to have accurate and reliable location ID. Again, we're going to have a static 10-digit phone number always assigned to our cellular equipment that allows caller ID format at your central station and also the ability to call back in. All of our devices have battery backup included for 10 hours. And you're actually able to send a text message to our device and you will get a report back with how many days until you have to change the battery. So if you notice, we have 10 hours of battery backup, which is more than double the code requirements. And all of our equipment meets and exceeds the A17 communication code. So as I said before, we make all of our devices for elevators. And so all of our devices are really designed to meet the A17.1 code. As I outlined before, our Elevator Connect 1000 is compatible with any existing phone hardware, any existing analog phone hardware, which more than 99% of the elevator phones in the United States are still analog. And our device works with the A17.1 2010 and higher line verification systems. That's the supervision panels that I was outlining. And currently at Kings 3, we have about 40,000 elevators and pool phones on 4G communications nationwide. And like I said before, we see faster connection times with cellular when compared to traditional phones. And when you take into account some of the abilities to have, sending a text message for a health check and being able to know how our system's doing remotely, you can create an overwhelming case that it's a much better solution than even a POTS line. I mentioned how easy, I mentioned a little bit about the installation being pretty straightforward, but I want to just play a video real quick. This will outline just what maybe a typical installation will consist of.
At this point, I'm going to plug in my power. It's going to plug into where it says power. Okay. I'm going to attach my antenna to the antenna port. Stick it to the top of the box. And then we can turn it on. The power that's supplied is the 12 volts to this ESA 1000. We have connection to the tower and our signal. We can now test or connect our dial tone to our elevator phone. We're going to plug the RJ11 into the FXS port. You would connect this to your travel cable going down into your elevator.
All right, so like I said, it's a pretty straightforward installation. Here's some more pictures outlining a typical installation. Again, the key is you're intercepting the on an existing takeover, you're intercepting the existing phone line at some point and connecting the two wires from the elevator phone, tip and ring to our device. For new construction, same idea. You're ultimately providing a tip and ring dial tone, just like an analog commercial phone line. If you used a multimeter on our dial tone, you'll get 50 volts DC. You can use a butt set for troubleshooting, and you can even plug in a handset for troubleshooting. So it's a very straightforward device with 4 simple LED lights on the top that give you status, and 4 LED lights on the bottom that give you signal strength. So you'll see a couple of these installations look like they're in an elevator machine room, and another one looks like they're in a telephone room. Ultimately, if you're not an elevator licensed technician, you're probably going to want to stay out of the elevator room and go into a telephone room. We also have remote antennas that can go well outside of our device, all the way up to 150 feet from our unit. All right, so now we're getting to the dollars and really the RMR potential. I think we outlined a little bit of just how many elevators are out there, just how many are still connected to phone lines. So the real question is, how can integrators take advantage of these trends? So while you may already be generating a portion of RMR with monitoring fees, I know a lot of fire and security companies already do elevator phone monitoring. Large telecom companies that provide analog line services have historically pretty much had a monopoly on the RMR for the phone lines. But now life safety companies that have emergency monitoring experience and capability now have the opportunity to take advantage of massive market potential in the elevator phone monitoring space. And really the ESA 1000 allows you to convert your customers' phone lines for the elevators to cellular without stepping foot inside the elevator cab. And really with our Elevator Connect 1000 and our tech support that you can lean on, we can really get you into the elevator phone space, into converting these phone lines without really having a big headache. But there's huge RMR potential as those customers get off of a traditional phone line and now can pay a life safety company that monthly fee for the phone line. Just back to the RMR potential, one of the trends also we've been seeing a lot of is just how much phone lines have gone up recently. In a lot of markets, we're seeing commercial phone lines over $150. We're also seeing just a lot of properties that have already converted their fire and security panels to cellular and radio mesh but they are stuck on their phone lines for the elevators. So these two stresses, plus the idea of some markets, they're getting letters that the phone lines are going away. So all of these stresses are really putting a big stress on that building owner, and they're really looking for an alternative. And like I said before, with elevator companies, not that many of them providing cellular solutions, this is really a big area where there's a market opportunity. Now, outside of elevators, there's a lot of opportunities as well. Kings 3 is really an emergency phone company. Kings 3 started in 1989, and we really started in the elevator phones, but also emergency phones. And just keep in mind, there's a lot of emergency phones in the United States outside of elevators. There's a lot of pool phones, a lot of help phones. A lot of phones in fitness centers, a lot of phones in college campuses and in high schools and in various campuses. So in addition to elevator emergency phones, many states require emergency two-way communications for swimming pools and area of rescue. These phones must be answered by authorized personnel also. So it's another area that's highly regulated. And 38 out of 50 states right now require an emergency phone at public pool areas. The EC 1000 can utilize existing copper running to the pool area, or simply a power outlet located in the pool area could achieve the ability for us to provide, an all-inclusive solution to your customers. Other areas such as parking garages, fitness centers, area of rescue, campus pool lights, these are all opportunities for transitioning these older legacy analog phones to something like something to cellular, like the Elevator Connect 1000. Now, there's a lot of different code requirements when it comes to pool phones. It's a lot different than elevators. So if you have questions about code requirements for pools or area of rescue, you can reach out to Kings 3. You can reach out to me. I'll get you in touch with some of our code experts in those areas. You can also go to our website. Like I outlined before with the elevators, we have a very nice resource online. If you go to www.kings3.com/code-compliance, and you'll see all the different codes for pools, swimming pool phones, and also elevator phones. But the idea is, even with cellular, it unlocks the ability to put an emergency phone anywhere. Some of our dealers, for instance, they're doing a lot of CCTV or security projects, and they're starting to integrate emergency communications a lot more into their overall design, because you no longer have to think about bringing a phone line to that phone. You can now easily add emergency communications to almost any job that you can have power on. And as long as you can connect to the cell network, you can connect our EC 1000 to any analog emergency phone. So here's some of the just an idea. I said before, Kings 3 has been doing emergency communications, since 1989. So Kings 3, we design, assemble, and support our own emergency phone equipment here in the United States. All of Kings 3 hardware is ADA compliant. And really, our equipment helps properties get their emergency communication systems up to code. Some of the advantages for our emergency phones are they're easy to program. And we have phones for elevators, swimming pools, garages, campuses, and all of our phones meet the elevator A17.1 code, and you can actually order all the equipment directly through our dealer program. There's some pictures of some of our phones on the bottom there. Also, just to educate some people out there, you may not know too much about Kings 3, but we also have our own UL listed emergency dispatch center, and we're located in Dallas, Texas, and our emergency dispatch center does nothing but emergency communications. So we only do elevator phones, help phones, and swimming pool phones. Our operators are highly trained in those areas. Just like a lot of the central stations you probably already are aware of, we record and store audio of every call for a minimum of 3 years with a timestamp. One of the advantages of our call center is we have the ability to translate over 170 languages. We automatically will know the location ID of any elevator phone that calls us. And we currently monitor about 100,000 emergency phones nationwide. And some of those phones are on cellular, some of those are on POTS lines, some of them are the new 2019 video and text code. So we monitor almost every type of emergency phone you could think of. We're fully equipped at Kings 3 to monitor the new 2019 video and text systems. Just so you guys know, there's about, this is a brand new code. So there's a lot of new equipment out there. At Kings 3, we are trying to be able to monitor every brand out there. We currently are able to monitor 3 of the leading brands. And we've been doing it for years, over 3 years now. We have a lot of experience, and we are always working with the newest manufacturers to try to get their systems to work at our call center. We're one of the only call centers that I know of that can really handle multiple brands. So just keep that in mind. A lot of the UL listed central stations in the security and fire industry just have not been able to monitor the 2019 code yet, just because of how much of an investment in training and software it is to get the operators equipped to handle these calls. Also, at our EDC, our emergency dispatch center, we really have a specialization in elevator entrapments and swimming pool drownings, So our operators are highly trained to handle these situations, especially elevator entrapments. You have people that panic, you have people that think they're having a medical emergency, and also in swimming pools where every second counts. Our operators are CPR trained and can really help in a pool emergency. All right, so that brings us to the dealer program overall, and that's really I'm the director of the dealer program here at Kings 3. I've been here for about 4 years now. It's just been very exciting. We've had huge growth. We have over 250 dealers now nationwide, made up of elevator companies, fire alarm companies. We have some of the biggest national fire alarm companies, all the way down to mom and pop fire alarm companies. But we're rapidly growing. We're looking for long-term partners who want to grow their business with RMR. The industry shift from POTS lines to cellular networks for emergency phones has opened up a lot of new RMR opportunities. We love RMR at Kings 3. We're hoping you guys love RMR. So what does becoming a Kings 3 authorized dealer mean for you? Really, it means you can eliminate your customers' dedicated phone lines in a code compliant manner, saving them money. And that really means the building owner is going to pay you for dial tone, not the phone company, which is always great. And really, you can leverage our Kings 3 technology, which has been around for a long time, to expand your product portfolio and grow your RMR. This, like I said, a lot of fire companies are already converting customers from phone lines for the fire and security panels. This fits in perfectly and allows you to really get that customer a complete POTS replacement strategy and get them off phone lines completely. No building owner wants to have 1 or 2 phone lines left that they still have to deal with the phone company. So you can really be the hero, right? And I want to stress that. Eliminating that vendor, you can really be the hero. So you can grow a lot of revenue from just your existing customers, and you can eliminate a lot of creation costs. You could also use our technology to gain brand new customers. Maybe your competitors are not offering this solution, and by you offering this, it could be a way for you to acquire or to have an edge over your competition. So we encourage you to take advantage of our Kings 3 code, elevator code expertise and technical and sales support. We have an entire team here at Kings 3 in the dealer program that can help with code expertise, pre-sale support, and actually technical support for your technicians. We also, you can utilize our state-of-the-art call center if you want, but keep in mind, our cell technology works with any central station out there. As long as they can use caller ID format or DTMF format, it should be an easy fit. And we already work with some of the biggest central stations already in the United States. All right, and outside of the dealer program at Kings 3, like I said, we've been around since 1989, and we really started out making reliable emergency phone hardware. We've been designing, assembling, and supporting our own phones since 1989, and we make phones for elevators all the way up to almost every possible phone out there. But really, since the mid 2000s, we've really become an innovative cellular solution. So now we're on 4G LTE emergency phones nationwide, but we've really been on the forefront of cellular technology, and we monitor over 40,000 phones on cellular right now. And every day, more and more of our existing monitoring accounts are going from POTS to cellular. We also operate a state-of-the-art emergency dispatch center. And King Street's really grown over the years, and we've really become a force nationwide. And we have a lot of people from the elevator industry that work at King Street. I myself came from the elevator industry. We have a lot of other technicians, operations managers, and people throughout our company that have a really good knowledge of the elevator industry, the elevator code. So we always recommend that you take advantage of that. Any question you have, we really take pride in making sure that we are giving you guys the most current code requirements and making sure that you guys are meeting those code requirements. We also have the dealer program that we just outlined. That's the program that I direct myself. In our dealer program, we offer technology to our dealers, and we really help you guys build your own RMR by allowing you to install our equipment. We also have a separate partner program outside of the dealer program. In our partner program, it's more of a referral program. So sometimes elevator companies and even fire companies don't want anything to do with elevator phones. If that's your stance with elevator phones, you can become a preferred referral partner, and you actually get a referral fee for every elevator account that you guys give to us. And so if you have customers that could also use cellular solutions, but you don't want to get your hands dirty, you could also have that customer get in touch with us directly. And that is about it in the presentation. We're going to open it up to questions.
Awesome. Great presentation, Tom. So first question we have is, what are the big national fire alarm companies doing to address this issue for elevator phones?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, we work with a handful of some of the largest fire alarm companies, but they're facing the same things. They're getting questions from building owners as well. Hey, we want to convert phone lines to cellular. And so really a lot of these big companies, they're operating in multiple states, and they're really concerned about having like a code compliant solution. So they're usually partnering with companies like Kings 3 or maybe some other companies out there, but they're usually going with an elevator, a cellular device that's actually designed for elevators, just like our Elevator Connect 1000.
Okay, awesome. Next question we have is, how do you see the market opportunity for POTS conversion in elevator phones as compared with the fire/security industry over the next few years?
Yeah, so POTS conversion on the elevator side, probably there's just maybe a little bit, there's a lot more market opportunity as far as for market share. So there's a high percentage of elevators that are still connected to analog phone lines and POTS lines. So there's a huge opportunity on the elevator side just to gobble up market share. Whereas in the in the fire industry, I think there's been a bigger conversion percent already of from POTS to cellular and radio mesh. So
okay. Also, we have, why are building owners and property managers not going to the elevator company to convert their phone lines to cellular?
So the building owners most likely are going to the elevator companies. We actually find that the first person they usually go to is the elevator company or the elevator technician. It's just that most elevator companies don't provide this service. And so that building owner is kind of left not knowing where to go. So more and more, fire and security companies, there's more and more fire and security companies offering cellular solutions. There's also more elevator companies starting to offer cellular, but I would say there's a lot of elevator companies that just do not provide it.
Gotcha. And then another question we have is, what makes the Elevator Connect 1000 different from other cellular devices for sale within the USA?
Yeah, so with the Elevator Connect 1000, just keep in mind, this device is really designed for the elevator industry, and the elevator industry is a little bit less regulated, and the code requirements don't clearly state exactly what the cellular device needs to be. But what that has introduced is there is a lot of cellular devices on the market that aren't designed for elevators. And a lot of times they don't actually meet the code requirements. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of these devices out there, but that's really the big difference. The Elevator Connect's really designed for the elevator industry. It's also been around for 10 years. I mean, we're on the 4G LTE version, but this is field proven. Thousands and thousands of these on the market. And our device is code compliant in all 50 states. So
awesome.
Yeah.
We have one other question. It says, bottom line, what are the charges?
Bottom line, what? Okay, so for yeah, I encourage everyone to reach out directly to me. The charge for the equipment is about $285. And then, the device comes with a SIM card that would be activated directly through Kings 3. And I just encourage you guys to reach out to me, and we can go over all the pricing of all of our different products here at Kings 3.
Awesome. All right, we don't have any more Q&A questions so far. So if that is all, if anybody wants to go and rewatch this video on demand, we will be uploading it to ESA's YouTube channel, so you will be able to find it there. But with that being said, are there any more questions, or is there any final parting words, Tom?
I just want to say thank you very much. I had a blast being able to talk elevator phones.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you so much for your time today. And thank you to everybody that joined. We do have one last question before we go offline. Is your service available in Canada?
Reach out to me directly. We do sell equipment in Canada for sure. Yes.
Awesome. Good to know. All right. Well, like I said, the video will be on demand on YouTube. Thank you so much, Tom, for your time today. Thank you to everybody that joined, and we'll be seeing you all soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your week.